How's it going, everybody? This is the Nitty Gritty. My name is Chad. With me, as usual, is Leonard. This is a show about wrestling, and we are bringing you another edition of our random match reviews. Normally, we do one match at a time. The last time and this time, we are doing two matches in one, primarily because it seems to be the only two meetings between the two pairs of wrestlers that we're discussing. So,
or at least that were recorded at some point that we can find.
That's correct. Yeah. So to elaborate on that, the two wrestlers that we're going to be talking about today met several times over the years, but only two videos exist that I was able to see, and that I was able to send to Leonard. So,
and one was a fan cam.
That's true. Yeah, with no commentary. We'll get there. Before we get there, though, I'm a man of my word, Leonard, and I have the T-shirt.
Saturday Right Fever. Yes, that is stand-up. Show the people.
Yeah, it's
so. As longtime listeners may know, Chad made a bet that I could pick any wrestling shirt that he would buy and wear on the program if CM Punk returned to WWE, and not just for like a Hall of Fame induction.
Right.
So that happened a lot quicker than both of us thought. And that shirt is actually from Wrestling Bios on YouTube. A plug for him. I watch his stuff all the time. He's doing a great series right now called Reliving the War, where he's reviewing every single episode of Nitro and Raw during the Monday Night Wars each week, and then he's doing the pay-per-views as well. And he's a Alex Wright fan. So Saturday Right Fever comes from something that he did on the program. And then there's also he has a Wiggles shirt that looks like a Pringles can for Norman Smiley, and he has a cap for Bret. He has a shirt for Bret Hart's cat, Smokey.
Right. Well, I actually like Alex Wright a lot. I don't like his gimmick nor the dancing, but I do like Alex Wright. So I'm happy to sport this shirt, and it is a very comfortable shirt, Leonard. I will say that for Wrestling Bios out there. I need to check out some of his stuff, but the shirt seems to be pretty good quality. So
good. I'm glad to hear that. And one thing he does do is if people send him pictures of them wearing the shirt, like at wrestling shows or whatever, he will post those, and you get to be the jam up guy of the week. So
all right. Well, maybe I'll have to post a picture then.
Yeah. So next time you go to a wrestling show, or just with your wrestling stuff around you, send him a picture.
Yeah,
and tell him the story.
One of these days, I'm gonna have to Leonard and I have to make a bet that I win and Leonard loses, and maybe Leonard will have to buy a shirt or something.
But I tell you what, next time we go to a wrestling show together, if we do that again, you wear the Alex Wright shirt, and I'll wear the Beaver Cleavage shirt.
Okay, sounds good. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, back to our main topic, which is random match reviews, and we are going to be discussing Jesse the Body Ventura versus Hulk Hogan. So, just a little bit of background. Both guys got their start around the same time, give or take a couple years. So, Jesse Ventura made his debut in 1975 under Don Owen, and then eventually in the late 70s moved to the AWA. Because he's from that area, obviously, anybody that has researched Jesse Ventura knows about his military background and all that. So he was initially Jesse the Great Ventura, then became Jesse the Body Ventura. The Ventura, wanting to portray a beach blonde from Ventura Beach. And in the same time, 1977, Hogan was training under Hiro Matsuda in Florida. The Briscoe brothers then made his debut happen. And Hogan is a, blonde who would eventually, say he was from Venice Beach. So there are some similarities / parallels in their career.
And they both wanted to be Billy Graham.
Exactly. They both were clearly inspired by superstar Billy Graham. And so the reason why we're highlighting these two wrestlers against each other is, famously because they don't like each other very much. As Jesse tells the story, he wanted to, he supported a union with wrestlers. And according to him, he was, kind of somebody ratted out to Vince McMahon that he was trying to organize this. It, I guess, came to pass, or he, narrowed down that it was Hogan that was the person that did it. So he's kind of held a grudge ever since then. I think Hogan has spoken about Jesse Ventura a few times. It's never been favorable. These guys don't get along. And even when Jesse was doing commentary during his WWF, peak commentary years, he was always very vocally against Hogan and would always kind of tease to come out of retirement to face Hogan, that kind of thing, because these guys were scheduled to have a really big feud. But unfortunately, Jesse had some clots throughout his body that caused him to have to retire very suddenly. Clots that he, I guess, blamed on Agent Orange from his time in Vietnam. So, yeah, Jesse's career kind of came to an end, but it was kind of spotty there in the early to mid 80s. He would wrestle until 1984, and he would have apparently 3 back-to-back losses against Hulk Hogan, and then the blood clots in his lungs would end his career. He would return to the ring in 1985 and apparently formed a tag team with Randy Savage. But, that is kind of all the details we have about the end of his career. So we're going to be covering 2 matches. One of them occurs in AWA and the other one occurs in WWF. So let's get to the first match, and that would occur on December 25th, 1982. I was not even 6 months old, Leonard.
I would have been almost 3.
Okay.
My birthday's in January, so I was a couple of weeks away from being 3.
All right. Well, this one occurred in St. Paul, Minnesota. There's a little pre-match promo with Jesse. It's a pretty basic promo, but Jesse's good on the mic. Obviously, he's good on the mic. We know that. Hogan's entrance music here is noteworthy because it's Eye of the Tiger. This was during the era where he was coming off of the success of being in the Rocky movie, Rocky 3. And so Eye of the Tiger was his theme music. And just a little bit about the match itself. We won't go blow by blow, but there's a lot of Jesse Ventura escaping things, a lot of pretty vintage heel tactics going on. There's some, punches and shoulder work by Hogan. The crowd is very hot for Hogan, despite the fact that this is a very slow match. We do see something that looks like the precursor to a Hulk up. There's a bear hug. There's a little bit more shoulder work. There's a brawl outside and a chair shot attempt. And they refer to the shoulder injury on Hogan because of apparently an arm wrestling segment involving Ventura and Ken Patera. So this match is basically a schmoz. But what did you think of this first match, Leonard?
Okay, first of all, I did the math wrong. I would have been 4 in January of '83, so I would have been almost 4 at this time. I'm a writer. I'm not good at math.
I'm glad you told you are.
Yes. I like this all right, especially if you compare it to the next match we're going to talk about it. But it seemed to be sort of almost the prototype of the Hogan formula from the WWF, but it felt a little more realistic here. The prototype Hulk up you mentioned felt a little more realistic. Hogan's selling was a little more realistic. Right. Even though I thought the middle part of the match was boring, I still liked the arm work by Ventura. I like the fact that they did that. And the commentator, who I believe is Ron Trongard, him mentioning, hey, Hogan had his arm hurt. That's why Jesse's going after that. That's what a commentator, should do. And he did that well. So, I thought the end kind of came out of nowhere. I think they could have maybe fought a little bit more or done something. It just felt like, okay, now's the time where we go outside and we end it. But other than that, I really liked the work that they put in here. And again, after I watched the second match, which we'll talk about here in a second, I appreciate this match, I think, just a little bit more. I ended up giving it 2 3/4, just under 3 stars. And one last thing I do want to mention is that at the very beginning of the match, the commentator, who I believe is Trongard, says that Jesse wants to be called Mr. The, a playoff of Mr. T.
Mr. V, right? Yeah.
The, as yes. Or Mr. V. I thought he was saying Mr. The, as in he is the body, not T, but maybe it was
What?
Mr.
That's
V.
interesting. The audio is weird. I wrote down Mr. V, and then as
Mhm.
we were going over it, I forgot why I wrote that down. I was like, what the hell is that there for in my notes?
Yeah, he wants to be
I
Mr.
thought it was Mr. V, but it could be Mr. The. That seems, either or.
Yeah, either or. It's kind of hard to tell. And I also noticed how he called Hogan the Incredible Hulk Hogan a lot, which was an early nickname for
Yes.
him.
Yep.
And I believe it was Vince who wanted to phase that out because of the Incredible Hulk. I think there was a deal at one time or some sort of verbal agreement between Hogan and Marvel that he could use the Incredible nickname. But I bet you it was Vince wanting to phase that out because I don't ever remember him going by that in the WWF.
Yeah, I mean, if they did announce him as that, it wasn't for very long, and maybe it was his first stint in WWF. But
Yes.
um,
And
this
he didn't use Eye of the Tiger for long either
right,
when he got to, because again, Vince didn't want to pay the rights.
right. Did this match end in a disqualification or a count out? I forget.
Let me double check my notes again. They brawl outside, leading to a no contest.
No contest. That's why I didn't remember it. Um,
Yeah. I believe Trongard does say it's a no contest.
yeah. So they,
At least
like, I
that's in my
agree with
notes.
I agree with you. The shoulder work was pretty good. The fact that it referred to an earlier segment made sense and kind of added some weight to the match. The match itself, though, is dull, so I'd probably go 2.5 stars for me. I'm not too far off from where you were. Um, so they, unfortunately, in Wikipedia, the matches that they referred to where it was like 3 title shots for Ventura. I don't know that any of those are around. The one that I have that we found next is fan cam footage from April 20th, 1985 in Bloomington, Minnesota. And it was probably, one of those situations where, hey, we're in Minnesota. Jesse, do you think you could, tough it out for one match? You'll get a reaction because we're in your area, that sort of thing. Um, I mean, and it's hard to hear, but I would say that there is somewhat of a mixed reaction for him. It's not just booze, but obviously its crowd is very pro Hogan, should be expected. But this match is a little bit longer, and it starts with Hogan. Again, we're in Minnesota, and I'm sure you wrote this down too, Leonard. Hogan initially is doing a ton of heel stuff here.
Yeah, well, he always did, but it was very overpronounced here.
Yes, it was egregious here. He's doing a lot punching, scratching, biting. There's an atomic drop. He throws Jesse out of the ring. There's he smashes his head into a table. There's an eye rake. So if you're keeping score, like Hogan does all of the, cheap shot stuff here early on. Jesse then gets on the offense and, there's kick, punch, and eye rake from him. They do some work in the turnbuckle, and Jesse does the thing where he calls a timeout, and there's the old handshake offering into the attack situation, followed by a clothesline. Jesse fights back. There's a foot choke. He, I believe, kicks Hogan to the back outside the ring and into the railing. And that goes on to have, there's a throat chop. Another more outside the ring brawling between the two, a body slam by Jesse. He's jarring with the referee a lot towards the end of this match. And there's an elbow to the back of the neck. Ventura is pushed into the post. And kind of outside the ring, and the match ends when Mean Gene grabs the leg of Jesse Ventura, causing him to, I assume, be counted out. And look to me, that's how the match ended, Leonard.
Yeah, that's how I have in my notes that Hogan wins by countout. And I'm guessing Gene was outside with Hogan because, again, he had come from the AWA as well. So the Minnesota crowd definitely knew Okerlund, knew Ventura, knew Hogan. And I have no idea who the guy and the two women were with Ventura.
One person is Precious because they say the name Precious.
Okay.
But I have no idea who the man is. I was going to ask you and I was trying to figure it out. I have no idea who that is.
I have no idea either. At first, I thought it was David Schultz because of the hair, but the guy's too big to be David Schultz.
Yeah, so, I thought that initially as well, but I was like, yeah, this guy looks a little bit too bulky for that.
Yeah, so I have no idea. I looked a little bit at the comments and didn't really see anything. So who knows on that? And even though you said this match was longer, the entire video is 16 minutes, but they actually don't lock up until about halfway through. It's 8 minutes.
Yeah, the video is longer
before they do anything. Yeah. And you compare this to the first one. This is much more the WWF Hogan formula mode.
Yes.
Ventura is overselling. It's more comical. It's more over the top. It's more playing to the cheap seats with the mannerisms. Both these guys feel more lumbering here than in the first match. Of course, Ventura had his health issues, and Hogan knew he didn't have to do all that much to get over. I thought the body slam on the floor was okay. That might have been like the best move for me here in this match. But this was just the drizzling shits as a match. It was a lot of just cheap tactics. It was a lot of stalling. It wasn't much of anything. It didn't tell a story, I don't think. The crowd was hot for it. And the personalities were there, but I gave this about a star.
Well, okay, so I'd probably go what you did with the first one. I'd probably give this about 2 3/4 stars.
So you like this a lot better?
Maybe 3, simply because this is what I grew up with.
Okay.
And imagining I went to see a couple house shows when I was a kid. And if I was a kid going to see this match, I probably would be satisfied because you have Mean Gene there, you have Hogan as the victor, and all that stuff. But you're right; it is the typical WWF formula. There's nothing fancy about this match.
Mm-hmm.
It's a count out victory, so there's not really any definitive ending or anything like that. It is your basic house show match. And, this match is obviously also taken down, I think, because we don't have any commentary to it. Who knows, if that would have added anything or not. But it's interesting to see, these matches back to back, and the fact that these guys did face each other on a number of occasions, despite the fact that they would go on to not like each other at all. I got to be honest, though, I don't see... If Jesse had been healthy, I don't see him being like a top tier heel opponent for Hogan, unless he could have, which we know he probably could have, unless he was able to just talk himself or work himself into like some great storyline. In terms of in-ring work,
mm-hmm.
I think Jesse is at best average. He's your basic heel. There's not really anything other than that I can point out and say, well, look at what he brought to the table. Jesse was good on the mic, and but he wasn't exactly chiseled out of stone either, and he wasn't a giant, which is what Hogan was fed most of the time, was giants, these monsters. Jesse wasn't a monster. He was, a military guy and, blonde hair. I don't know if it would have worked on a stage like WrestleMania, for example, Leonard. Maybe you feel differently. What do you think?
It like you said, look at Roddy Piper. Not the type of typical guy, but he could talk himself into an angle.
True.
And he did, and he did that.
True.
And you look at someone like, say, Paul Orndorff, who needed Heenan to talk him into the angle. So, I think what you said is the most important thing here. could they develop a storyline? I don't think any of their matches would have been that great. I mean, we look at the sample that we got,
Right.
and definitely, I think Jesse's health has a lot to do with that. But
Yeah.
could they have done a program that maybe would run between WrestleManias? Yeah, I think. Looking back, maybe he main events too instead of Bundy in a cage. I think that was
That would
a late call to do Bundy in the cage for WrestleMania 2. So
that would have been interesting. See, it would have been interesting to see the two of them against each other mic wise. What would have been the story? Like, could they have built up Ventura to be a threat to somebody like Hogan, similar to the way Piper was? Who knows? It's a little tough for me to buy into it as a WrestleMania main event, but as you say, maybe it would have been better as like a more major event at that time. They didn't have
kind of a filler feud in between
yeah.
Mania 1 and Mania 2. Kind of like the stuff he did with Orndorff in '86.
Right. Yeah. So if you've seen these matches, and I'll post links to these matches in the description of this, and let us know what you think of these matches, and if you have any thoughts on the history of these guys and their feud here. If anybody knows of any other matches out there, please let me know. But I was not able to find anything. I usually have a pretty good track record for finding rare stuff. So let me know what you thought. Check out our other videos, What's That Card, Segment Surgery, Stupid Questions, our full-length episodes as well. And we're also available wherever you listen to podcasts. For Leonard, my name is Chad, and we will see you next time.